Lift your wife's shirt and prove she's actually pregnant, or you'll both face daily fines. That's what the vice president of our HOA said to me the second I opened my door. She didn't blink, didn't hesitate, just stared right past me into the house like she owned it. My wife Ava was standing in the hallway, her hand on her belly frozen. I swear in that moment I felt something cold crawl up my spine. Because if a stranger could demand that kind of proof, what else could they take from us? My name's Ethan Morales. I'm a private investigator, ex-Air Force Security Forces. I've seen power abused before, but I never thought it would come knocking on my own porch. My wife and I waited 5 years for this pregnancy, 2 miscarriages before this one. We finally had hope again. I built her a porch swing by the lake, our little sanctuary. She'd sit there every morning, tracing the wood, whispering to the life inside her. That swing was peace. And in one breath, Marjorie Kent Maple Ridge, HOA's self-appointed queen, called it unauthorized construction, said it would be removed. Just like that, something sacred became contraband. She had that clipboard like it was a weapon, scribbling nonsense fines and fake rules, calling my wife non-cooperative. Her exact words. Then she leaned closer and whispered, "Mothers don't hide proof." Ava gasped behind me. I felt her hand tremble against the wall. I kept my voice calm, barely. "You need to leave our property." Marjorie smiled like she'd won. "You'll be hearing from the board," she said, and walked off down my driveway as if she owned the asphalt. When the door shut, Ava broke down. She kept asking if we'd done something wrong, if we'd violated a rule we didn't know about. I told her no, but deep down, I wasn't sure what kind of madness we'd just stepped into. I checked the porch later and found a bright orange violation sticker slapped on our swing. "Remove immediately." It wasn't signed by the board, just Marjorie. And that's when I knew this wasn't about community rules. This was personal. I walked down to the HOA bulletin board near the lake, and there it was, printed notices, warning neighbors about fake pregnancies used for benefits. No names, but our announcement had red question marks scrawled across it. Someone had vandalized other families' posts, too. One couple expecting twins, another who'd just adopted. It was a pattern, a witch hunt. And right in the middle of it was Marjorie's signature smugness. I took photos of everything, every sheet of paper fluttering in the wind, every hateful word. That night Ava couldn't sleep. She kept staring at the windows like someone might be outside watching. And honestly, she wasn't wrong to think that. The porch light flickered, the swing creaked in the wind, and for the first time since we'd moved in our home, didn't feel safe. I promised her I'd handle it, but I didn't know then just how far Marjorie was willing to go. The next day I went to the community garden ground zero for gossip. That's where I found Jeremy, one of the newer board members. Kid looked terrified, twisting his gloves like he wanted to disappear. I asked, "You know what she's doing is illegal, right?" He whispered back. "She's not supposed to make new rules on her own." His voice cracked. Then he added, "She's been building this case for weeks." That night he left a note in my mailbox. Lake Bench, 10 p.m. No phones. When I got there, the air was heavy, the lake perfectly still. I didn't sit. Old habits die hard. I stayed in the shadows, scanning the trail. That's when I saw her Marjorie on the other side of the lake, pointing a camera at my house, taking photos through our windows, at my sleeping wife. I shone my flashlight right at her. Her face froze, caught like a rat in the beam. Then she turned and stormed off, mouthing something across the water. "You will lose." A twig snapped behind me. Jeremy stumbled out of the dark, pale and shaking. He said, "She's been watching pregnant women for months. She thinks people fake pregnancies for tax breaks." He handed me a sealed envelope. Proof, he whispered. "And Ethan, stop her before she ruins you." Then he vanished into the dark. Inside that envelope were copies of fake HOA policies, ones Marjorie had written herself. Her name typed on top like she was running her own government. It was sick. I stayed up all night reviewing them, cross-checking signatures. She'd forged them all. By morning I'd made a decision. Enough hiding. Enough waiting for someone to save us. I printed everything, photos, notes, the orange sticker, even the HOA notice from our mailbox, and I drove to the courthouse. I filed for a restraining order citing harassment, stalking, and illegal medical intrusion. When the clerk read pregnancy verification inspection, her eyebrows shot up. She stamped my paperwork immediately. The judge didn't even hesitate, granted it on the spot. When I got home, Ava was sitting on the swing, sunlight on her face. I told her she was protected now. She cried, but for once it wasn't out of fear, it was relief. For a few hours peace returned, but it didn't last. That weekend was Family Unity Day, the neighborhood's big PR event. The irony wasn't lost on me. Ava wanted to go. She said hiding would only make us look guilty. So we went. People stared. Some nodded politely. Others whispered. Then the microphone squealed and her voice cut through the air. "Welcome, Maple Ridge families," Marjorie said, stepping up like a queen addressing her subjects. "Today we celebrate honesty in our community." She dragged out the word honesty, eyes locked right on Ava. My wife's hand tightened around mine. Marjorie started listing new policies. She wanted to pass mandatory family documentation, random inspections, verification for dependents. Every word made my stomach turn. And then she said it. "We'll vote Tuesday on our new pregnancy verification authority." That was it. The crowd murmured uneasy. Ava swayed beside me, pale. I guided her to a bench under a tree, trying to calm her breathing. A woman I barely knew, Sarah from the cul-de-sac, handed her water. "We believe you," she whispered. "She's gone too far." That night Jeremy showed up again, knocking softly on our side door. His eyes darted everywhere. "She's not doing this just for power," he said. "There's money involved. State incentives for verified families. She thinks if she exposes one fake pregnancy, she'll become HOA president." He handed me a flash drive. Emails, forged policies, her notes about targeting you. Everything. Then he looked me dead in the eye and said, "Please end this." After he left, I locked the door, plugged in the drive, and felt my blood run cold. There it was, document after document with fake seals, manipulated letters, threats to other board members. She'd built her own little dictatorship, one rule at a time. I compiled everything, harassment, fraud, surveillance, discrimination, and sent it all out. To the Attorney General's Civil Rights Division, to the Housing Authority, to a reporter named Danielle Hayes who'd covered HOA abuse before. I didn't exaggerate a single word. The truth was damning enough. The next 48 hours were a blur of waiting, planning, and watching. Tuesday night would be the showdown, her vote for power, my chance to end her reign. I coordinated with my contacts. Authorities would be ready. Jeremy would signal me when she tried to push the vote through. When the night finally came, Maple Ridge looked perfect on the outside porch lights, glowing sprinklers ticking across manicured lawns, but underneath it was a powder keg. Ava squeezed my hand before I left. "Be careful," she whispered. I kissed her forehead and promised I would. The community center was packed. Folding chairs, casserole dishes, fake smiles. Marjorie stood front and center, pearls choking her neck, remote in hand. "Tonight," she said into the mic, "we finalize our family verification enforcement policy." The projector flickered on fake seals, official-looking language, all of it her creation. My pulse stayed steady. I had everything ready. For the integrity of Maple Ridge, she began, the HOA shall have the right to require physical proof of preg. The back doors burst open. Deputies, housing authority officials, and behind them, Danielle Hayes with a camera crew. Every head turned. Marjorie froze mid-sentence. I stood up, holding the restraining order in one hand and my evidence folder in the other. "You are violating a court order," I said. My voice echoed off the walls. "And you're under investigation for forgery, harassment, and discrimination." The deputy stepped forward, handing her papers. "Effective immediately, you are barred from all HOA activity." Her face drained white. Then she snapped back to life, screaming, "He's lying. This is a conspiracy." Jeremy rose from his chair, shaking but loud enough for everyone to hear. She forged signatures. She bullied the board. She targeted a pregnant woman to make herself look powerful. The crowd gasped. Some covered their mouths. Others whispered to each other. The housing official walked forward. "The state is opening a full investigation," he said. "You are suspended from all duties effective now." Marjorie's jaw clenched so tight it trembled. Deputies flanked her, guiding her toward the door. She twisted, pointing at me one last time. "You'll regret this," she hissed. I didn't reply. I just met her eyes as she was led out, the clipboard still clutched in her hand like a symbol of everything she'd lost. When the doors closed, silence hung heavy. Then Jeremy stepped to the podium. His hands shook, but his voice was clear. "The family verification proposal is withdrawn." A wave of relief passed through the crowd, people exhaling as if they'd been holding their breath for weeks. Someone started clapping. Others followed. Not in celebration, just release. I stepped forward and said, "My name is Ethan Morales. I didn't move here to fight anyone. I came here to build a home for my wife and our child." But when the person in charge of protecting this community started spying on us, questioning our right to have a family, that's when this stopped being about rules and started being about freedom. A woman in the front asked softly, "Is Ava okay?" I nodded. "She's strong, stronger than anyone I know. But this kind of stress could have cost us everything." My throat tightened, but I didn't look away. Marjorie thought she could control us. What she forgot is that control only works if people stay silent. Jeremy found his voice again. "This board commits to rebuilding trust," he said, "to making sure nothing like this ever happens again." When I finally stepped outside, the night felt different. The same lake reflected the streetlights, calm and still. I took a deep breath. For the first time in weeks, it didn't feel like poison. I could almost hear Ava's laugh in the distance, the one she used to have before all this started. The deputies' cars pulled away, their red and blue lights fading down the road. The air was quiet again. The storm had passed. And standing there in that silence, I realized something. Power doesn't corrupt by accident. It corrupts because people let it, because no one stands up and says, "Not here." So that's what I did. And if there's one thing you take from my story, it's this: never hand control of your life to someone holding a clipboard and calling it authority.